All right. Hey, so excited about another show that we are going to have today that I'm just excited to have, and just thinking about you all. And as far as when we're recording this, it's right after our Thanksgiving break, and I'm just so grateful. I was able to spend a whole bunch of really cool time with my family, a whole bunch of really cool time with just people and friends that are around me. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we forget that part of our living boldly, or part of our things that we're trying to achieve in life, why are we doing it? For me, I start thinking about, okay, what is the why of the amount of time that I spend online, or I spend putting things out on social media, or that kind of stuff. And then what I come to realize a lot of the times, it's because it gives me the opportunity to spend more times with the people that I love. And if I think I'm going to go to work from 9 to 5 and work every day like a lot of the folks who are listening do, I don't know anybody that I can ever remember that I said, that, you think of somebody that's on their deathbed and them saying, I wish I would have spent more time at work, or I wish I would have spent more time pursuing the thing that I was pursuing. What they usually say is, I wish I would have spent more time with my loved ones. I wish I would have spent more time with the people that are around me. And so I guess what I'm saying is, don't take for granted the people that you are part of, or the people that helped you to achieve where you're at. And make sure you tell them that you love them. Make sure you tell them that you appreciate them. Make sure it's not like at the end where you're saying, oh, I wish I could have spent more time with them. Carve out some time right now to spend more time with it. And so one of the things about doing that, though, is being healthy. The other thing that I thought about is it's this time of year where we all, and Greg, you can tell me if you agree with this or not, where everybody decides that they're going to get healthy. They're going to, eat the right stuff. They're going to put the right stuff in their body. They're going to do the exercise. They're going to go to the gym. And what's so funny, I'm asking Greg this because he's a fitness guy. And what is so funny to me is all the people that will go to the gym on the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, right after the Christmas season, and they will do workouts as if they've been working out all year. And they're so sore and they're so tired and they can't do it. And then they do that for about 2 days. They can't move. And then they don't go back to the gym to work because it's so hard. So maybe after we're done hearing your story, we can talk a little bit about what that's like, what the mentality should be if you're getting ready to take care of your body in a way that you haven't been taking care of your body. I ate a lot on Thanksgiving, and it was great and nutritious. And then I'm like, the next day I'm like, why did I eat all this food? Because I'm not used to eating all that food. I'm not used to putting that much in my body. I usually don't eat till noon. I usually don't, I try to exercise every day. I try to make sure that there are certain things in my diet that don't exist. And then, I get to Thanksgiving, it's all there. I guess the seafood, not like seafood from the ocean, but like all the food I see is what I was going to eat. And so, we have Greg on. We're going to talk about those things today. I'm just curious about them, so I'm going to ask the questions. Whether I'm asking for you or asking for me, they're going to be really good questions. And so, Greg, maybe just tell us a little bit about your story. I ask all my guests, hey, tell your story. Tell us who you are. People really care about who you are before they know what you do. And so he's got a really compelling story, a story that is different than a lot of ours. And I'm going to let him tell it in his way. I tell all my guests, Greg, this is kind of funny, but you can't get your story wrong because it's yours. And even if you made it up, there's no way that I would know. But if your mom is watching this, then you might want to tell the real story. You're making up. But I hope, I can't wait to hear your story and hear your heart, and then we'll just chop it up after that. So thanks for being here. The floor is yours. You're off to the races.
All right. So might as well start from the beginning. I was born in Poland, raised up until the age of 11, and actually came here to the States with my mother when I was like 3.5 years old once to visit our aunt. And we came here permanently in 93. So where the whole fitness thing started for me is when I was a little kid. Like we were used to being outside from morning to dawn, just running around, being active. And I was never really like the athletic kid. So for anybody taking up on sports, I totally understand it. Not that I was obese, but I actually did not enjoy sports in the beginning because of my lack of cardio due to light asthma, and dealt with some severe seasonal allergies as a little kid. So that can be kind of daunting. And it just grew on me over the years. Once we came actually to the States, we were fortunate enough where the landlords that we lived with, they had kids our age. So they kind of like were the ones who introduced us into the American sports like basketball, football, and baseball. Because growing up in Europe and Poland, like pretty much everybody played soccer, right? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it really opened us up to it. And I think my pivotal point was in high school, where really fitness kind of took on the whole uh, aspect of how I went into this profession. But growing up, the oldest of four boys in a family, it just a lot of responsibilities fell on me. I felt like I was like this step-in parent when our folks were basically working so much to provide for four sons and to get us over here. And it's been an amazing journey since we came here to the States because of the kind just Poland got out of communism and things were still kind of rough as far as when it came to economics and people kind of making a good living. And coming here to the States, it was a big shift, huge shift. Climate-wise, definitely hotter. Culturally, a lot more of a diversity. And I think what helped us really initially to get acclimated really quickly is the fact that we went to a parochial school. So within like a year-ish and a half, pretty much had a really good grasp on the English language. They had a very strong English second language learners program there. And my biggest thing with fitness was it was more like just kind of like a social thing. I was like probably one of the quietest kids ever. Like unless a teacher called on me, I would never raise my hand in class. And that entirely changed towards the end of high school. That the fitness actually allowed me to really open up socially to people, just in general. So we have a lot of students these days, being a full-time educator and running my personal training business. I can see a lot of the youth is really dealing with that anxiety spectrum of being social and accepted. And I think that was a big challenge for me coming here to the States, not knowing English and have never experienced the type of bullying that we did here. It was actually violent. I almost lost a friend due to the fact that he stood up for us. It was a small group of us from my country in the middle school. So I totally understand where some of the youth is coming from, what they are experiencing, unfortunately, in some of their lives, or adults who have in the past. And it was, to me, the biggest shock was when we came here to the States is just seeing the sheer decline in people's quality of life, longevity, and just ability to be independent in later adulthood. Like when I was growing up in Poland, we never heard of actually people having food allergies. I've never heard of people having some of these conditions like ADHD and that sort of thing. Like people were at a totally different spectrum in health, and not to mention also obesity, which it was very rare to see somebody morbidly obese, almost unheard of, very small percentage. And that's when I came to the realization that this is what I want to do for the long haul, is the whole fitness and wellness concept. Because every relative that came from Poland, from my mother's side of the family, most of my father's is still back there, I've noticed a gradual decline. And there's a lot of factors, obviously, that play into it. Considering that people are so sedentary.
Mhm.
It's a lifestyle of basically where people, I've noticed, shift to just comfort and pleasure, all the food, the TV shows. That's another thing. I wasn't used to growing up where we had dozens of channels, cable TV. It was just two bunny ears and literally two channels on a tube TV. And this was like late 80s, early 90s. That's what we were used to. So TV was never an option, like really in the back of our head to think about and just watch all these shows. It was all about just being outdoors, moving around. We used to do so much camping. We did some here too when we came to the States, fishing, uh, skiing, things like that, biking, just being constantly kind of like on the move. And that has almost to a level impacted my childhood growing up. The ones I've noticed everybody here was kind of like pushed so quickly to get their driver's license because it was like the next step of independence, right?
Mhm.
In high school. But for as far as what I enjoyed growing up is just really being outdoors, doing all the outdoorsy things. Some people wouldn't really think of it, but I do enjoy actually photography. That is something that I do like to do a lot, especially wintertime. I've done a lot of it like several years ago when all the lockdowns happened. It was just something about it's just very centering and relaxing. And for me, it never was like, okay, wintertime is here. I'm gonna stay cooked up inside. No, it's a different experience being outdoors during the different seasons, and that's something that I've come to embrace. But growing up through high school, the one thing that has really helped me, and this actually started in middle school, it almost like I got bit by the bug of fitness when my father introduced me to some dumbbell exercises, literally those old school 2 5-pound dumbbells that were
Mhm.
plastic cased and filled with some kind of like a sand, literally 5 pounds. And for me, like a 11, 12-year-old at the time, they felt kind of heavy, right? I
Mhm.
was just like really thin kid and started doing some bodyweight stuff. And what a motivating thing it was when I, like, for the first time after just working out with those 5-pound dumbbells, all of a sudden, I go from zero when I was in Poland to knocking out like 10, 12 push-ups. That's
Mhm.
huge confidence builder for a kid, especially. So from there, it grew. When I went to high school, which was very diverse in Connecticut, New Britain here, uh, we had the option. We had small amount of options during PE class. Wintertime, we were always in the weight room, always lifting some kind of weights. And it's like the old school that you can think, imagine really old equipment in the 90s. So that's how this whole fitness thing kind of like really got grounded in me, is really weightlifting and playing sports. However, injuries happened. Uh, I honestly can't count the injuries on all of my fingers and my toes. I kid you not. Not that I was looking to get hurt. it's,
You
it's
figured that
just
out.
it happened. You push the body, and being young, there's that old mindset like no pain, kind of no gain. Like also the ego steps in the way for a young guy, right? So my worst injury in high school was we were playing basketball and I fell down, reaching down, and I thought I broke my elbow. but it was so badly sprained that it was locked. Literally couldn't straighten it out for 2 weeks, and it took a while to like rebuild it, the strength and all of those things. So it's amazing what in a matter of like several weeks, when a body part is immobile, I saw the difference in the mass that I like in my arm and in my form that I lost in those several weeks, because the arm was not mobile at all. The most I could do, and I'm left-handed, so I had to figure out a way how to write, even though it was painful as it was back then. You had no option in typing. And that is when it kind of like dawned on me that why it's so important to really have fitness part of one's life. You know, if that happened to me as a young kid in a matter of weeks, you know, looking at the adult population, that's what kind of like really solidified my approach to wanting to go to. And I was kind of like on the fence. I was in between, okay, personal training or phys ed. So I took some courses, kind of explored, and I initially I started in some personal training, but what kind of turned me off was about it is like the way I saw it was almost like the typical Bally's fitness kind of like career center where people were selling memberships. That's what the gyms were like back then. And I couldn't see myself doing that. I became an educator and started elementary level, and then now I'm at the high school for 15 years. And I've realized that it's not just the youth that really needs those skills. The adult population, they don't have those skills for the longevity, quality of life, because they grew up basically during an era where it really was kind of more primarily just kind of like controlled rec time is the way PE class was when I was growing up, or even like for some of the adults that I know who went to school. So really was not centered around fitness, and that is the biggest missing component. So as far as things that I've enjoyed over the time was really, I'm a huge enthusiast for traveling as much, although I haven't done as much as I'd like to, but I've taken like road trips on just a spur of a moment because I had the time. And that's the biggest thing, is like, if I can share that with anybody, is those are some of the most memorable things, is traveling, going places. So going forward, when I finished my degree, bachelor's, that really opened up the door for me to evolve my social skills, going from somebody who was like basically the quietest kid in class ever. I had maybe one or two close friends going through elementary, middle school, and that has grown when I was in high school and college especially. And now if you'd asked me back then if I would be doing the keynotes at a speaker school, I would look at that person like they have lobsters coming out of their ears.
Here we go.
Or even just being on social media. So you never know. And that's, I think, where the whole concept of living boldly in the purpose of your own development and growth is so important, because it really allows someone to step out of that comfort zone. But with the online fitness, my biggest I want to say gratifying experience was, this was almost 8 years ago. My closest friend, he was my first actual client. We would go to the gym at his, like a local YMCA, and kind of like in between when I was driving to the high school in the morning. We would go there at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 times a week. And the transformation that I saw with his fitness knowledge, him getting in shape and being basically a lot more present for his family and his wife and two boys, that really solidified for me. Okay, this is what I need to be doing. Start actually training the adult population because it makes such a tremendous difference in their lives and just going forward into late adulthood. The scariest things I've seen over the last 5 years happen to some of the close people that are related to is once they retire and they just plop down on that couch and not move, the rate at which people just basically regress with their ability to be independent is kind of scary. So that's what I'm really aiming for, is helping those adults get themselves in shape to be ready for whatever life throws at them, for their families, and in the process, just enjoying this journey. Whether it's traveling, hiking, fishing, things that I do in my spare time, whenever I have spare time, besides now house projects. So that's another thing. I do like working with my hands, doing small carpentry stuff, or on days like this weekend, I was a total grease monkey, just stuck kind of like working on the maintenance on the vehicle for like half the day. And it's just, I like when I have this spare time, just doing all kinds of projects like that. And yeah, that's probably the gist of my story. But a couple things I want to share is pivotal. Really, this is going back 6 years ago. We had somebody really close to me that I almost witnessed lose their life during a very kind of risky construction accident. If it wasn't for the fitness, I don't think that person would have made it out alive. It was just mere seconds, 3 fractured vertebrae, 16 fractured ribs, deemed flailed chest, having to wear the brace for like 4 or 5 months. And the fact that somebody can survive such a bad accident, and then I was kind of like on the mend trying to recoup my another injured disc while still actually working on the house, doing a master's at the same time online. So when people have all these things that to juggle in their life, I've been there and I get it, that it's daunting to think about to come back to fitness when, let's say, you injure your back or the shoulder. That's why I'm doing the kettlebells. That's what kept me in fitness until I found the right orthopedic to fix that shoulder. If it wasn't for that, I'm not sure where my fitness levels would be at. But that's what saved my shoulder about 12 years ago, is working with those bells. And it's been a journey. So. Oh, the sound is off.
Yeah, I don't know how that turned on to mute. I'm sorry about that. But my life, kind of like yours, where there's these progressions or these things that kind of direct your path. And as I think of, you and I both come from, the era where, like you said, we ran outside in the morning, especially in the summertime when we didn't have school. And then parents didn't see a street light came on, come home, eat some dinner, and then go back out and play in the dark for a little bit. And we were so active, and then we look at today's, whether it's their youth or just today's adult that is so much into just coming home, going to work and watching TV. Sometimes the gym fills up, but when I look at our whole population and thinking about the gym isn't full of people. There's more people who, push the button, their garage door opens up, they drive their car inside, garage door shuts down, and you don't see them until the next morning. I see exercise equipment that's being purchased but then I also see it on the more of it on the curb on big trash day where they're throwing away elliptical machines and
Yeah.
bicycles and weight sets and things like that. And when I think of the last, let's see, I was the last time I did like P for a long time. It was probably 2015 or 14, and I've been coaching track at the high school now for the last 12 years, and at the university before that. But some of the classes were the typical classes that we have, and the kids are more on their phones and stuff. And so I started seeing things like Fitness for Life, where they would do the games and the things, or we would start teaching the games that they will actually go do, like the cornhole or the
Mm-hmm.
pickleball or the just like I even as I was subbing, I would take a group every 3 times a week on my P class, and we just go for a 3 mile walk. Because I looked at some of the kids, like the kids that would enroll in the class that was Fitness for Life are not the kids who want to play sports. They're not the kids who enjoy playing basketball. They're the kids you got to, if you have a swimming unit, they're going like, oh no, we're not getting in the pool. We'll just take the F, but they were willing to walk, and so maybe what are some of the things that you're helping people with? I know you have the online thing because people are willing to, hey, I don't have to dress up. You don't have to see what I look like. I'm not trying to show you my body, but I'm trying to look at. So what are some of the things that you do that can help the typical adult who does not get much exercise? Maybe talk about how much exercise we should be getting, and then we'll jump into diet too. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the fitness part first.
So a couple approaches I've tried with people. One, definitely, I'm a big proponent of daily fitness. I think it's unfortunate that people have the mindset that I don't have time. I've helped, and then this is one of the things I help people figure out. Is I help them find time. When I speak with someone, we go down the process of figuring out where the time can be found. So 30 minutes is minimal a day, but an hour is even better. So like somebody just said it best, Mike Mahler, on his page, he was talking about like how people are trying to marginalize fitness into, okay, let's, at least you can do 15 minutes. Yes, that's great. But we have to consider is how is that body going to look like what it does the rest of the day? Like people have these desk jobs where they sit for 8, 10, or even 12 hours at a time, or even when they come home. But doing 30 minutes to an hour of activity a day, yes, it can have a tremendous impact. But what is that fitness like that they're doing in comparison to what they're doing for the rest of the day? And I typically, if someone who hasn't done fitness for a while or almost at all, I introduce them to the 30 minutes, 3-4 times a week. And then from there, I like to call it's like building blocks. We add another day over time. We add more time to the routine. So it becomes that 45-minute to 1 hour session several times a week. Because unfortunately, that is what is necessary for some people who have a very sedentary job. And even when they get home, sometimes too. There used to be a big push for cardio. I mean, I enjoy doing some cardio, but for the long haul, some resistance training is really, to me, is non-negotiable when I prescribe fitness to people, whether it's body weight. So that's another thing. I've been able to develop routines for people where it's just use of their body weight, a couple dumbbells, and a band from home. As long as somebody has those basics, they can do a phenomenal routine at home, from the comfort of the home to work out through online program. Like you said yourself, people buy these expensive machines and then you see it on the street like 6 months or a year later, right? It's bulky. Nothing wrong with using good quality equipment, but that's why I've been kind of like doing a lot of body weight things, band stuff, and kettlebell things on my social media, just to like have people understand that it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, it really does. I was watching, I don't know if I was online or scroll, and there's these guys that are using chairs, just
Mhm.
a chair to do everything. And I tried to do one of those workouts and I couldn't get through it. It was like, oh man, all I need is a chair and I could do whether it's my push-ups or do my tries or I mean, every portion of your body can be exercised with a chair. But
Mhm.
what I think people are missing, and you can correct me on this, is a system on what to do all the time that they're doing it. I mean, when you and I were young, we were watching Richard Simmons or the Taibo guy, and it was always or the step ups and
Yeah.
like it's like, oh, I can do that is which is okay. And I think that was mostly cardio or something, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. And maybe your online program is like, oh, these are the things that you do for 30 minutes and you do it every day consistently and you keep
Mhm.
track of it. I mean, is that kind of, you know, what?
Yeah, it's really comes down to consistency. A lot of times folks think, and like you said yourself earlier, people wait for the new year because it's like the mindset of, okay, this is going to be the perfect start time. I'm going to do it then. There really is no perfect time, as we all know. And like you said, that share, absolutely. Everybody is a beginner at some point in anything related to fitness. So like I've had people who had to lose over 100, 120 pounds. Where am I going to start them with? They're not going to be lifting weights. It's going to be body
Mhm.
weight and mobility things. And all of a sudden they're looking at me. They're like, I did this mobility routine and I'm literally drenched. That's because that's the intensity level for that person to start at, is their own body weight, mobility, balance work. And it's amazing what just doing things with your own body weight, or like you said, for example, a chair, what it can do and how it can challenge people.
Yeah, something that like I want. So I'll go to the gym. I'm fortunate enough that I was like you. I was a PE teacher, and then I went like I became a trainer because I needed more money at the local fitness place back in the '90s. So I was able to get a membership, a lifetime membership. When I was there, and I think I pay like $6 a month now for a 24-hour fitness. So I can go to the gym whenever I want, which I don't usually do because there's so many. Like I get to walk 3 miles. It's beautiful in Colorado. Why would I do that inside
Mhm.
of a gym, looking at other folks when I could look at the beauty of nature? But on the other hand, when I do go, when it's a snowstorm or something like that, I watch people and I see these guys who are incredible on the treadmill, like you talked about cardio, right? But you know, I go say I go in January and say I go back in April. That same person on that treadmill, they don't look any different. They're running the same speed. They're not, they haven't figured out that there's more muscles in the body than their heart. And and I can hear them sometimes complain like, I don't see any progress. I don't see any difference. And I'm like, I want to tell them, well, we need to stop doing cardio all day long every day,
Mhm.
because it just to me, this common sense that if you just keep doing the same thing every day and not getting the results you want,
Yeah.
that's what did Einstein say? That's insanity. So one of the things, I mean, you talked a little bit about cardio, and you talked about that's not everything, and resistance training is non-negotiable. So what kind of things are you having people do? I guess not don't give me a whole workout, but
Yeah.
you talk about bands and different things. What are some things that as people who are watching this go, I really don't know what I'm doing. First, they should call you and then or go on your online program. But what are just some general thought processes people should have?
So it's not really, a lot of times people get stuck in the mindset that, I'm going to use this amount of weight to challenge the muscles. The muscle doesn't know how much weight we're using, it just knows the level of resistance. So that's the thing. It's the level of resistance that the person's using that is challenging enough. And as far as the quickest results people will see is doing compound exercises. So, like multiple joints. A lot of times, folks will kind of go towards the bodybuilding mentality training, that we're training body parts, like bicep curls, triceps, side raises, right? Versus like push-ups, rows, some kind of bench press, overhead press, and pull downs. And then just in general, training the body like a unit, using compound lifts, extra compound movements. That's the biggest, quickest results people are going to see. Like, for giving you an example, I met this once powerlifter at a workshop, and this is where I had this aha moment. This is probably a decade ago. How so much faster resistance training is to help recomposition the body, but also there is a little bit of a cardio component. This fella lost 60 pounds in less than 3 months because he was lifting weights 6 days of the week, but the way he was lifting, it was light weights, and he was doing like anywhere from 5 to 10 sets. He's doing something called the German volume training. That's not for the faint of heart, but it just clicked, and I tried this kind of training, and there's really no break. The only break that he had was between the sets of either changing the weight or moving to a different piece of equipment that was already set up, maybe 10, 15 seconds, and you're moving to the next exercise, supersetting back to back constantly. So I had my friend actually at one point try this, because he looks at me, he's like, I don't want to hear anything about diet, okay? He rubs his stomach. He's like, this temple needs 5,000 calories a day. Train me in a way that I'm still going to lose some weight. I'm like, okay. So we did the German volume training 5 to 6 days a week, and he actually dropped several pounds in a couple months.
And still ate 5,000? Even doing it, he could continue to eat 5,000 calories a day?
Like a king. Still ate like a king, because that's, some people, no matter how much knowledge you have and the tools, they will not want to hear anything about nutrition. But that was his decision, and it is effective. Resistance training for recompositioning the body and then losing that weight. Not to mention, it does get your heart rate up quite a bit doing it that way, the supersetting or circuit training, obviously. So that's my biggest tip for people, is really just increasing that weight training, body weight, band training, that sort of thing, to get the fastest results.
Yeah, what, I guess, when you think of somebody who's healthy, and we think about the people that we worship or idolize, can you not have that Hollywood, superstar body and still be healthy?
Yeah. So something that I've learned recently, it's unfortunately, and this is something that I've talked to a lot of my clients, is when people look at the imaging, there's a lot of variables that play into it. It's the angle of the lighting that's going to make look someone a little bit different, the definitions, striations that are visible. A lot of times folks will not say this, that, like, for example, at least the Wolverine movie, when he was all basically looked like an anatomy chart for that scene in his top shape, he actually admitted dehydrating his body. A lot of times these celebrities will not say this. They'll do either a water fast or a dry fast, anywhere from 1 to a couple of days. And you wonder why they look like they're carrying around 5, 6, 7% body fat. But realistically, it's not sustainable. Technically, for a man can look in phenomenal shape being at the healthy range of body percent fat. So the hormones are actually optimal, and they can recover from injuries, and the immune system strong, being anywhere between 10 to 15% of body fat. Someone can still look like they're in pretty well-defined, great shape. So that's one thing, is like, people, I hope people are careful when they look at these idols and think, how are they doing this? But the other part is, there's sometimes certain substances that people will never talk about that they've used as well.
Yeah, some of the steroids and stuff that will augment the
Hmm.
body in a way that that you're not healthy and they're not healthy, and they don't continue to do it over and over and over again because their body can't take it. I do want to talk about diet a little bit, just because it is, to me, right. So being a fitness person and being a teacher for so long, and then caring about my body, but I don't not necessarily know how much I cared about what I was putting in. When I was 19, 20, 25 years old, it didn't matter what I put in. My metabolism was fast enough to pretty much break down, eat everything that I was putting inside of me. Now that I'm 60 years old now. I know on a meal that I eat what it does to my body, and I know even some of the diseases and things that can come up. I can take my 3 mile walk, I can do my exercises, I can do my resistance training, but if I'm not eating the things that should be going into my body on a consistent basis, my body feels terrible. I don't function very well. Yeah, so I can walk, you can go run 3 miles. Yeah, I can run 3 miles. But when I get home, if I go throw, a whole bunch of pancakes or waffles or syrup, all that kind of stuff, and breads, I guess, into my body, then I'm ready to take a nap 2 hours later, and I'm struggling. And now I'm taking and doing a chemical like coffee or the monster drinks or something to keep me awake. But when I'm eating right, I don't need any of that. How do you help people understand that what you put in is so effective to what you can
Hmm.
do?
Um, the best reference I can make is this. This is Steve Carter, rest in peace. He actually spoke about this. He used to be a vegan for several years, and he talked about his journey, how it took him, someone who's like a fitness guru for decades. Uh, he would talk about like that. It took him 4+ years to figure out how to eat well for his body. So when people talk about nutrition, you have to realize that for some folks, it can take some time. I'm not saying 4 years, but when he shifted that, um, the biggest thing that I explain to people is, one, let's say somebody's going to eat, let's say, eggs for breakfast, right? Well, so if they're eating eggs for breakfast, what was the food that that chicken was fed? Or if they're having steak, okay, what was that cow fed? Now, how was that actually feed for that animal grown? What were the environment of it? Was it actually outdoors or something manufactured? Is there fillers in it? What were the substances used to make it actually grow? Was there like pesticides and things like this? So, what the food that we consume, under what environment conditions it was actually produced, then that's going to make a big difference when that actually produce that we consume, or uh, any like meat products, what that animal was actually consuming makes a big difference in the environment. So now we have to consider not just like pesticides and things like that, but was there any genetically modification going on, or if there is actually other carcinogens in it, like there is also people have metal toxicity, which
Mhm.
is much higher than people realize these days. So, for example, okay, if somebody's eating out of cans constantly, well, they may be high in tin. Somebody using a lot of aluminum, or buying food that, even though it may be healthy, but constantly using the foil wrap and all of those things. The plastics, that's another thing. It also, it's not just the food, but where it came from, how it was produced, and the environment that it came from. So that's one thing I help people understand. And the other thing is eating as much as possible from single ingredients. So the
Mm.
food is as least minimally as processed as possible. Even though, for example, like somebody's having white rice, well, it did go through some processing, but at least we're starting from single ingredients and making that meal.
Man, that's like such such good wisdom when thinking about, nutrition and just what we put to our bodies, and finding a way or set that our body responds to. There's just so much. I went into like a what do they call it? It's a chipmunk thing that they have these gas stations now that are I can't remember what they call it, but it was almost like a quarter mile. Well, it felt like that. Maybe it was only from one end of the store to the other store. And as I walked through, it was almost impossible to find one healthy item in that gas station. Like one thing that would be beneficial for my body to eat right now, from the diet sodas to the candies to the chips to the muffins to the
Yeah.
whatever it was. I mean, I guess I could eat the clothes that they were selling as byproducts or something like that. But we just think about that. Now I think about, one of the things that I pride myself on talking about in the show is the identity, being congruent with the identity that we hold for ourselves. And there's no power. I mean, I think Tony Robbins even said no more powerful force in the universe than being consistent or congruent with the identity you hold for yourself. Maybe you can just walk us through what is the identity of somebody who is healthy and has a fitness lifestyle that thinks about their bodies. Because when I think about time, you talked about time earlier and how important it was, and how much time we don't have that 30 minutes. But then when I visit a nursing home, or I visit, folks that are sitting down and can hardly move, and just telling me my dad's wife, so I guess it'd be my stepmom at one point, she just told me that she felt so unhealthy, and she's almost 80 years old, that she didn't want to wake up every morning. And to get to that point where my body feels so bad because I haven't been taking care of it, that I don't want to live, or all I do is sit in the TV tray and the television all day long with zero quality of life. On the opposite side of that, what does the identity of a person look like? Maybe it's your identity that says, wait a minute, it doesn't take up my whole life, but it's important to my life.
So for me, what it's come down to is a few things. My shift that happened after experiencing that accident where I almost lost somebody close is that the fitness it's not a luxury. It's, some people say necessity, but it's the key to a gateway of living a life of less suffering. So like when we have to meet life's challenges, emergencies happen. That's one thing. If injuries happen, the body is so much more resilient in coming back from an injury. People say, you do this and it's going to prevent injury. We can't prevent injuries, but we can reduce the amount of them and their severity with proper fitness. And that's the biggest key thing. The other part of it is the cognition. With lower fitness levels, that cognition declines. The levels of our neurotransmitters changes. So now we're talking about the serotonin levels. And that's my biggest important thing when I talk to people about doing fitness for life is really having that cognition into late adulthood, the healthy levels of those neurotransmitters, and that the mind is quick-witted, it's sharp. The person is able to function cognitively, not just physically. So that's been my biggest, I guess, motivators. My mindset shift versus in the past, it used to be about, okay, I want to press so much weight overhead, or maybe I want to deadlift so much weight or run this kind of time for a 5K. Now for me, it's not really about the numbers, although I still have the goals, but that's been what's been shaping my approach to fitness, and hoping people actually understand that and let them find their own way by having that experience and the success of improving through fitness. That, hey, you know what, there's something to it. If somebody says, now I'm doing mobility and strength training for lower body, my knees don't hurt anymore, well, there it is. Suffer once, not twice in longevity.
Yeah, I think last time I was in the gym, somebody asked me, how much do you bench? I'm like, in high school? Because that's probably the last time I cared about how much I benched, maybe college. But you're right. It's that cognition that when I get up, I want my mind to be sharp. I want my mind to be sharp for the next, I'm 60 now and I plan on living to 100. So if I want to be sharp between now and 100 years old, what do I have to do to my body to create it as a temple? My identity has to say, wait a minute, this is something that's important. This is something that doesn't take all day to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can get through my days, but it does. When I go to pick up something to drink, what is it that's in my glass? Is it water or is it punch? Well, what is the punch is great, Kool-Aid when I was a kid, and that's what I wanted to do. But now I'm like, wait a minute, if, like I said, if I'm going to drink a whole bunch of Kool-Aid right now, then I'm going to end up, and then I think about our medical system that says, okay, you drank the Kool-Aid, so now that you drank the Kool-Aid, here's a pill that you need to take to counteract the Kool-Aid that you had. But if you just drink water, you don't need the little pill, and it's just like all these medicines that have come into our lives that are preventing us from being healthy, because like one goes after the other, that goes after the other. Well, you got to take this one because you took this one. You got to take this one because you took this one. And now you got like 16 pills in your little case because you're taking everything that counteracts the chemicals, I guess, that are in there. But if you just, for most people, I mean, I know there's some diseases and stuff that medicine is important for. Diabetes is not one of them, in my opinion, because that's what they told me I had. And now my numbers are where it doesn't matter anymore. But, and I guess I'll always have it, but I don't have any of their drugs going into my body anymore. But there are some diseases. What's your thought process on just, hey, right now, today, I haven't started anything. What do I do next? Because I don't know if I have what they call willpower to be able to tackle what you're asking me to do.
So connection's a little bit.
Is it a little bit choppy? Okay.
A little slow. Yeah.
Did you get where I just asking, what do I do if I feel like I can't do it? Where do I start?
No, I didn't hear that.
Okay.
So the last part I heard was about the diabetes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So I was just asking about, that person who says, I want to get going. I'm scared. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm going to have the willpower. Every time I've ever went to the gym, I've failed. What's going to make it different now for me?
It's really going to come down, what is the why? Or why do they want to do it? And a lot of times people will say, well, I want to be in better shape. Well, why do they want to be in better shape? And it's really getting down to the root cause of their reason. And once they find that it requires some reflection on the individual, really. Just saying, oh, I want to weigh this number, or, oh, I want to be at this % body fat. There is a bigger, deeper why that is very emotional to the individual. And it could be maybe that they want to be around when, functional for the grandkids. Could be, various reasons. But for most people, for what I've noticed is they really do want to be functional in the later adulthood and have less injuries. And like you said yourself, nobody wants to be on those 10, 12, 15 pills. It's just masking the symptoms. So the bigger part of it is being independent. For most folks, having that independence, and I think that's a big driving factor for a lot of people now in the fitness industry. Is that a lot of folks start fitness because they feel, like you said yourself, unhealthy. There's a lot more that goes on to it, and I forgot to mention when I was talking about nutrition is a lot of folks suffer with various hormonal issues. Thyroid may not be working properly. The lymphatic system, that's so huge for fitness, so important. It's underrated. A lot of people have actually sluggish lymph drainage because of the sedentary lifestyle and the different chemicals that they take in through poor water quality, poor food choices. And that's just, all of this. It's not just the food, but all those substances in the body have an effect on all these different systems, and people just feel really bad, feel very unhealthy.
Yeah.
So for somebody to get started, what I would say is really just reflect on it. What is the biggest reason that they want to start?
Yeah.
And that should be a question that they ask themselves, like, if I don't start, how is that going to make me feel? Am I going to be happy with myself? That procrastination and then the regret, and it becomes psychological for a lot of people. People beat themselves up a lot when they don't do something related to nutrition or fitness that they know they should be doing.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man, time has just ran away from us today. I love it. It's been a great conversation. Is there anything that you wanted to make sure you talked about that you and I didn't get a chance to? Maybe, it's your website. I know folks would love to know how to get a hold of you to see what your online training is like. But, maybe you can tell us what that is and anything else that you think you'd want to leave with us today.
The quickest way people typically get a hold of me is through Instagram or Facebook. On Facebook, it's just my name, Greg Lunski. Instagram is strong number 4 life LLC. And it's important, the LLC at the end of it, because there's different versions that I noticed of that similar name out there. But I can be contacted today. My website is currently under development, but Instagram has been the fastest way. I do have a YouTube channel, which pretty much has everything that Instagram has, but more of the long form content. The main takeaway I would like people to get from this is, setbacks and injuries will happen. They will. It's inevitable. And I've dealt with that myself with injuries. And I think what I can tell is there's always a way to include fitness and nutrition into anybody's lifestyle, no matter how busy they are, how much chaos they have going on, or how many injuries they have had. There is always a way to be active, have that fitness in their lifestyle. And that's something I know how to help people with that, to figure it out. So they can start finally if they don't have absolutely no idea what to do.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Greg Lunski. And go to his website, check out the things that he has for everybody to do. It's so important that we don't take fitness lightly. It is so important that that you not try to do something like fitness on your own. I know there's some people who are so independent and so, I guess I would say, think that they can do anything all by themselves. And there might be a few people, but I would say that God didn't put us on this planet to do anything by ourselves. He put us on this planet so that we could be in relationship. He put us on this planet so that we could do some phenomenal things with each other. And to me, fitness is one of those things that you want, even if it's somebody helping you plan meals or somebody who's you're accountable to, because it's so easy. It's hard to be accountable to ourselves, right? Because if I don't feel like it enough, I'm just not going to do it. And so Greg has given us some really good things to think about and clues that we should look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, yeah, this is something that we should do. So if this is your first podcast, I hope that you guys remember to go ahead and subscribe or hit notifications so you get the next one. I would love for you to check out my community. It's called Becoming the Person. Becoming the Person. If you go to becomingtheperson.com, you will see all kind of different things, whether we're talking about fitness, whether we're talking about relationship, whether we're talking about business, whatever it is that you want to become the person that God made you to be on this planet. And so again, Greg, thank you for being on. Thank you for being part of our show today. And I can't wait to see the rest of you on the next one. You guys have an amazing, awesome, incredible day. Don't forget your God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. See you soon.